Welcome, guys, back to the channel. This is the preview for the Springbok game. Huge game tomorrow. So much of a storyline going on around this team at the moment. So much going on. The Boks whipped Australia 33-7 in Brisbane last week, setting up their chances for the Rugby Championship. And if they win on Saturday in Perth, they'll have an exceptional chance of winning the Rugby Championship. Back-to-back wins in Australia are quite rare. The Boks have only won, 6 games since 1995 in Australia. So, yeah, it's really one of those places that they really struggle for some reason. But this team is something different, something exceptional. But there's so many plot twists, I suppose is the word, around this team at the moment and around this game. So let's have a look quickly at the venue. Of course, now it's the Perth Oval. It's been called the Optus Oval for sponsorship reasons. It used to be the Subiaco Oval. Some of us know it from still there. Obviously, quite a dual-purpose ground, or it's a multi-purpose ground. Plays rugby league, and it has AFL games at times there. It has cricket. A lot of cricket gets played at the Oval as well, and quite a good place for the Springboks to be. It's got a capacity of about 61,000. It looks like it's going to be pretty full crowd. There is unfortunately going to be some weather around there. So if you're going to Perth, I'm sure you already know, make sure you dress warmly and dress that you can be dry most of the time. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. The previous games at that venue, in 1998, the Boks beat Australia 14-13, the first time they played there. It was the same year they won the Tri-Nations title. 2001, they drew 14-all. It's been the site of 2 draws. 2004, Australia beat the Boks 30-26. Of course, the Boks went on to win the Tri-Nations that year as well, but a very close game. 2005, and the Jake White Boks beat Australia 22-19 in Perth. Then they didn't play again until 2008, where under Peter de Villiers, Australia beat the Boks 16-9 in a very closely contested. 2012, Heineken Meyer's Springbok side lost 26-19 in 2012. 2014, they lost by 1 point, 24-23. So a lot of close games there, but a very good venue considering the overall record in Australia for South Africa. And then, of course, 2017, Alistair Coetzee side drew their 23-all against Australia. So we talked about the weather. What is the weather going to be like in Perth? Well, not too good, unfortunately. It looks like it's going to be raining around about the time the game's on. It's going to be raining while the game's on, and there's some concerns about the pitch. And I think, let me not say it myself, but from what I've picked up, listen to Wallaby captain Alan Alatoa speak about the pitch, and he'll tell you exactly what part of the problems are. It's a bit soft underfoot, it seems.
Yeah, it's a bit soft underneath. But you know, I think that's probably due to the weather that it's had, and yeah, we've spoken about that as a pack and as a team, just making sure that you know, you have the right essentials with your boots to make sure that you take every opportunity that counts. So yeah, I guess it is what it is.
Anything you're worried about with it, or just is it just something you've just got to be a bit extra mindful of?
Yeah, it's just something that, like any field, that you need to come out here, get a feel for it, and then adapt.
So with your boots, what do you change?
I don't change anything. Yeah, I wear the longest studs, you know, possible. So I think it's more some of our outside backs and that would probably have to, you know, change some of their studs. But yeah, if everyone's across.
Now we've already seen some videos of the staff sort of trying to open up the digging a bit to try and open up some and help with the drainage. I take it that I'm no gardener, so I'm not sure what exactly they do there, but I know it probably helps a little bit with the drainage in certain areas. But this is the video we saw a bit earlier this morning from Australia as well on Twitter. Picked that up. So there's going to be a bit of a rain there. That's going to change the complexion of the game. It's going to be a very, very different game to what we were hoping to see, given the weather. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it's more of an arm wrestle, and it'd be a lot closer than last week because of that. Well, first of all, because of that, and then because of some of the changes that have been made in the last week. First, the Springbok team. Let's have a look at the Springbok team selected. It's been a talking point the whole week. There you'll see, 10 changes, 11 if you include Pieter-Steph du Toit, moving back to 7 flank. Yeah, he's one of those guys who really plays almost every single test. Elric Lowe, Sasha Feinberg, Mngomezulu keep their spots. There's a new front row, Jan Hendrik Wessels, Johan Grobler, and Thomas du Toit. I covered a lot of this in a video earlier this week, but just to say that's a very, very young tight 5. Salman Marat, also a very young captain. seen as somebody for the future. Rowan Nokia captains the Bulls as well, but has only played one test before. Jan Hendrik Wessels and Johan Krobler only one test before as well. So they're very young tight five, and it's a big test for them. Australia are definitely going to be better in the scrums this week. They'll have looked at it a bit more. Marco van Stalen deserves a spot there. Peter Steph du Toit, Ulrich Lowe, good loose trio. Morne van der Berg getting only his second game, his first start in a BOK jersey. So it's going to be interesting. His service will be very key for Sasha and at Flav. Lukhanyo, I'm the key guy in the back line. Obviously, looking at him and Jesse Krill's partnership. First time they've partnered as such, but Lukhanyo being a type of guy who really can change a game as well. And, Kubani Bobo, we spoke to him. If you haven't listened to the whole thing, podcast To the Last Drop is available. Yeah, it's also on the channel. Yeah, or wherever you get your podcast, or on the Jackpod for Jacaranda FM. You'll see Kubani talking about specifically Lukhanyo Am. Here's a quick snippet of what he said.
I've always thought Lukhanyo is an inside center. I know lots of people, we've seen him do so well at outside center. Let's look at what the roles of an inside center and an outside center do. Outside centers are line breakers. They're the players who go for the outside gaps. Lukhanyo is not the type of player. He's put more people into those outside gaps than he has run through those holes. Although he will do because he has that rugby acumen and IQ to play it like that. But for me, Lukhanyo with ball in hand is much more of a threat as an organizer. He's much more of a threat as how he reads the defense right in front of him, where he can find space in front of him, can find space at the back. Surprising me, the way that it went over their heads, the way that he played against Portugal, first of all, because of the opposition. But no one saw that he kicked with his left foot and his right foot for clearances. No one saw that he was running the meetings. No one saw that he created an opportunity for Makazole Mapimpi's try where there was 6 versus 7 at inside center. And that's a type of player when it comes to transitional play, the calmness and the how he reads his 10, giving them the time and space when he knows when they're going to strike so that he can complement them with a different line. There's a line break that Mani LeBok did. Lukhanyo just let him run in front of him. And then it was up to him, seeing that the player, the only option that he had was a switch. But he almost forced him to that decision by the line that he ran, which is a much easier pass for Mani LeBok. And that's the IQ that I'm talking about when it comes to Lukhanyo and playing on the inside. And how he helped defensively, because the wingers had to tackle in and become outside centers that day. He was the one who was marshalling that defensive effort, making sure that these players could keep their cool. Not too many wingers are the bravest guys when it comes to the midfield defense. And Lukhanyo made that look seamless.
So that's on To the Last Drop, my podcast with Liam Del Khan. We do it every week and comes out on a Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. Of course, Makazole Mapimpi back, and who can forget what happened 2 years ago in Adelaide? I've spoken about it before. Certainly something that we'll all remember, his battle with Marika Koriubete. Have a look at this. Just down memory lane as well. Supersport shared it again. So let's just go down memory lane and remember Marika Koriubete and Makazole's battle.
Backwards, all backwards.
And then de Klerk finds and Mapimpi. Makazole Mapimpi!
What a tackle. What a tackle. Koriubete. You can see why this man's highly rated, why he's been brought back into the Wallabies setup. Mapimpi gets into beast mode here. He wants to win the physical contact. Look at that hit there from Koriubete. A try saver of note. Well, where the arms are, they might be looking at this. No arms.
No arms.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah. Guys, to knock on while green.
Wow.
Tight in.
Penalty advantage for the Springboks. Moody runs hard at Reece Hodge. Hendrickse, Willemse, and Lendi. Bullet of a pass for Leroux. And Mapimpi! Mapimpi! Wow!
He hasn't forgotten about last weekend, has he? Makazole Mapimpi, as he scored that try, went to Koriubete and stood over him. And that's what's caused this little scuffle here. Well, Billy LaRue set that up with a drift little run around the outside.
Jason Colby and Apelele Fassi make it up. And then there is a World Cup winning bench there that can come on if it changes the game. So a lot to see there. We probably see Handré Pollard and Manie the BOK coming at 10 and 12. Manie at 10, Handré at 12 in the second half. So that should be quite interesting to watch as well. And could be something for the future because Handré is definitely a player that can play 12. And we'll probably see him a lot more at 12 as we go towards the World Cup. Now, those 10 changes have been a big talking point. Is it going to stop the continuity? Is it going to be something that hampers the Boks this week? They've played down the risks. This is a great opportunity for those players who are going to be involved in 2027 in the World Cup. A lot of these players are seen as the players that will take the Boks into their defence of their World Cup crown, so that's a great opportunity for them. But this is what Rassie said when asked about the 10 changes, and also whether it be a setback if this BOK team loses. The last time the Boks made changes like this was in Bloemfontein in 2022. A tough game, they lost against Wales. There was a lot of criticism afterwards, but that also went a long way to settling their squad for their World Cup defence, which they won in France. They won the World Cup back-to-back. So there is a bit of risk. There's a lot of reward if it comes through. But this is what Rassie said about that.
Alton Ashfaq, no, hello everybody, good evening for those on this side and morning on those on that side. No, Ashfaq, I mean, this is not a series which we, the second game would have determined the outcome, like against Ireland. Now, this is, we've got a squad of 33 Springboks here. And yeah, I can mention you the wider squad and those who we left out of the match day 23 here. This is just, we have decided that if things goes according to plan, everybody here is good enough to hopefully get a second win against Australia, although we know it will be tough. But yeah, this is not like a series against Ireland where it's a do-or-die match. After that, there's still 2 New Zealand and 2 Argentinian matches. But hopefully the change up, although there's still 14 World Cup winners in the match at 23, hopefully the young guys can learn from the older guys. And yeah, they bring exuberance and excitement, hopefully. Oh, well, like Sasha did last weekend and Elrich did last weekend, if you look and see, it's actually just Thomas de Tour has played many a times for us, and Johan Grobler and Hendrik Westelt, it's not their first caps. No, Salman Murad has been captain, he took his chance really well. I know for Ruan and for Mordai Krappis, it's a bit of it's the only first start. But then everybody else, Jason Colby, Jesse Kriel, Lucan Johan, Magazolo, Sasha has played now, Elrich has played now. So it is, and then the bench is all World Cup winning guys. So from the bench, we expect to bring some experience and calm heads, and then guys like Fassi and Sasha and Elrich and those guys is to build on their test caps, not just to get more caps, but to feel comfortable at this level and enjoy it and feel comfortable and safe to bring what they have to the party, hopefully, and try to win the test match.
Rassie also was asked about whether it would be a setback if this team lost the game on Saturday. This was his answer.
Is that the second part about the setback?
How big would it, of a setback would a loss be? If you lose on Saturday, how big would the setback would that be to continuity?
Well, I guess like New Zealand's setback was against Argentina. We'll probably be then if we lose this match. Be a lot of teams on 5 points, except for 4, 5, or 6 points, except if Argentina beat New Zealand again. So this is not like it's like a tournament, and you might lose a pool game. But you, like in the World Cup or anything else, and especially with New Zealand losing to Argentina. But our team were 14 World Cup winners. We didn't pick a team to lose, and the players that we put in there's only 2 new caps, so a lot of the other guys has played a lot. So, and if you look at our bench, it's certainly guys who can come up and either stabilize or change the game or make some good changes on the field, and the season's on the field. So I think if you ask New Zealand how big a setback will it be if they lose this weekend, and you ask Argentina or you ask Australia, it's never nice to lose, but that's not to say you will lose the rugby championship. But we're not planning to this is not something up in the air. We've picked a team that we think can win.
And just focusing a bit more on the game, this was Salman Marat. He also spoke a bit about the desperation in the side to win for these youngsters who people may be writing off. And there's a lot of excitement around a number of players in the team, but just how desperate they are to win. Almost more desperate than they were last week. And that was his point. So there's certainly no lack of motivation amongst the players going into this game. And whether these youngsters can stand and deliver in the face of some adverse weather, a hostile crowd, and all the rest is going to be interesting. And it'll also teach Rossi a lot about those players going into battles and what they need to improve on.
Yeah, yeah, I think last week was exceptional. To sum it up, to keep it short as well, I thought the team really bought into the plan. Everyone was really desperate, and I think going into this week, the challenge would be to back that up. But I can tell you this, that we've had a very good week of prep. And you also mentioned that Australia will be very well prepped, and they'll be desperate as well to turn around their campaign. So we are well aware about that, or of that. Yeah, I mentioned it all week. The challenge for us is to back it up and to be as desperate as last week, if not more.
Then we have the Wallabies squad, obviously the big ones. Nick White back. South Africans will remember him for the way Faf de Klerk tickled his moustache, and got a yellow card for it. Do you remember this incident? That was a huge contentious point in Adelaide when the Boks lost, other than the Marika Kuribete tackle on Makazole Mapimpi. That is one of those that's going to really be interesting. They've made a number of other changes. Angus Bell's back. They strengthened they strengthened their scrum, so they're going to be a lot stronger there, and they really feel that they've got a chance in Perth. I think they will be a lot stronger. Team always tends to strengthen in the second week of a 2-week window against another team. They work out, and it's much easier to motivate yourself from your loss. There always is a bit of a worry about, not complacency, but a bit of a worry that you might let your standards slip if you're on the winning side. And of course, there's so many changes that there's a worry of continuity on the Springbok side as well. And all that being said, let's have a look at some of the areas of focus for the game. I think one will be the scrums. We had obviously a great scrum battle last week. BOK came out very much on top there. Now that most of that scrum is on the bench. So we've seen before that players like Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, and Vincent Koch can come on in the second half. At the World Cup, they did it a couple of times and turn the game around. But they'll be there as insurance for the Boks. But the young front row is going to have to stand up. And the Aussies believe that they only had some technical problems. Despite the demolition, that box scrum has demolished almost everybody in world rugby over the last couple of years. And Don Himon has worked hard with the guys. But this young squad this young front row is not as vaunted, and they're going to definitely be attacked by the Aussie scrum. It's going to be interesting to see how they do. Of course, Don Himon's been working hard with them as well, and they are the future of BOK rugby. So a lot of it will come down to Thomas du Toit and his experience in that team. He certainly missed out on the World Cup, so he needs to obviously prove himself as well. But let's have a listen to Alan Alato. He believes that their problems were only technical last week.
I think for us it was more, in terms of a front row, it's just a technique. Like we want to transfer the weight from behind, and to do that you've got to be in the best shape possible. So again, that's areas that we spoke about. It was a tough learning for us in the set piece, but we're looking forward to that challenge tomorrow. Yeah, it was obviously a tough game, for us, and it was a tough learning. But for us, we focused on the positive glimpses that we showed in our game and the opportunity that it created, and on the other side of that is that we probably weren't consistent enough throughout the whole game to deliver that for 80 minutes. So that was on us as players. We took ownership in our own game and making sure that tomorrow that we go out there and do everything we can to execute the plan that we have put forward.
Another area of which will be really watched this week will be the aerial battle. With the weather in Perth being wet, it's going to really be a lot more kicking. We're going to see sides try and exploit mistakes of the opposition. And the Wallabies were really not happy with the way they got into the aerial battle last week, where the Boks sort of dominated and gave them front foot ball. So you heard Joe Schmidt talk about it this week. Expect a huge emphasis on the aerial battle. Of course, we remember when we talk about Marika Koribetu, the battle with Makazole Mapimpi. We forget that Caden Moody scored his debut try on debut against Marika Koribetu. So there is maybe a weakness there in the aerial battle that the Boks can exploit. But the Wallabies feel much more comfortable with Koribetu under the high ball. So that'll be interesting to watch. Remember this try, just to give you a quick reminder.
Chile Hendrickson. Tumele majukujuku. Yeah, Tula Lopala. Cayman Muti. Oh, Sakalo Shalam Danam. Ugella Kalikame, man. Oh, we better caution. Well, along Kubalula Sobu Zalumpoko. Enye into emsebenzela Cayman Muti pha bubude bakhe kuba ukazi uKorobiti inqothukile kadeni lentwana.
But yeah, listen to Joe Schmidt talk about the aerial battle and how important it's going to be. And if an Australian coach talks about the aerial battle, you know it's going to be a big focus this week.
Yeah, I just felt we didn't get into the aerial contest last week. I think they kicked 7 contestables and got 4 back. We didn't get any of ours back, and I think it's one of the vital sources of possession in that you can capture it in behind the defensive line to a degree, and they then spread it very quickly and efficiently. Willie LaRue's obviously his passing game this week. They've got Fussy there who's got a very good strong carry game. He's a big man, so either way you want to be able to get those back and you want to be able to defend yours better.
Of course, the Boks know they've got a young side. There's a lot of pressure on them. There's likely to be a bit of nerves. So they need to be better, and they know Australia will be better this week. It was emphasised in no uncertain terms by assistant coach Ms. Wandile Stick this week, who laid down the gauntlet and said his side will definitely have to be better if they're going to go 2-0 up against Australia this year.
Yeah, listen, 100%, Kanye. So we will have to improve tomorrow to be able to get that second win, and we know that for sure it's not going to be light, If you look at the way the selection team, the team that is selected for Australia, they've got a lot of experience there with the guy like Marika Korobeti coming back into the team, Nick White with his experience. So it's surely going to be a different challenge, And we know one thing for sure. We've been there also as a team on the other side where we were desperate for the win. So the key thing is that, like Salman also mentioned earlier on, I think the players that are also given an opportunity at the moment in our squad, they're also in that very, very desperate position to be able to prove it to us as coaches and the management that they've got what it takes also to always be in that match 23. So I think that's the key thing for us. Whatever happened last week, yes, it happened, but I think it's all in the past. If we won't pitch up with that desperate mindset tomorrow, I think we might have a long day at the office, But once again, like I said, I know a lot of these guys are excited. I know a lot of these guys are also desperate with the opportunity they're getting. So it's going to be a big occasion. It's going to be a tough one. But once again, I think the team that probably physically and mentally pitch up on the day tomorrow will probably stand a chance on winning the game. And Australia, they've got the players, and it's going to be a tough one, but we'll see how it goes tomorrow.
Of course, Joe Schmidt spoke about it as well. Both teams are in their developmental stage. Both teams have got an eye on 2027 with the World Cup. Both teams are trying to find their feet for the next, but in 2 different ways. The Springboks, of course, in a much stronger position, a lot more depth. They've got double World Cup winners in their side, but those guys are also getting to the wrong side of 30, and a bunch of them may not make the next World Cup. So there's definitely a thought about developing young leaders. That's why Salman Marat is there. Developing a new leadership group in the team and giving the youngsters a chance and putting them in some pressurized situations. The Wallabies are recovering from the Eddie Jones disaster, and yeah, they haven't really, as Jake White said in an article the other day, they haven't really looked after the grassroots rugby there. They struggle against other sporting codes and have a bit of, not the greatest administration over the last couple of years, but they are also, Joe Schmidt is a very wily coach, and he'll know there's no easy route to getting to the top. He'll know they've got to do the best and face the best nations. And only that, by sticking with the same players, they'll learn. So have a listen to Joe Schmidt talk about exactly where both sides are in terms of their development and why this test is so unique.
Probably the same way as we're trying to work out, a broader squad at the moment. I just see them as, having been involved in international rugby for 10 years, you've got to be transitioning your squad. I think they had, I don't know what the number was, 30 or plus last week, in their 23. So there is a necessity around building a depth in your squad. And the other thing that my perception would be, South Africa have depth. You look at it's a couple of Bulls front rowers, and Grobler and Vessels, and then you've got Thomas de Toy, he's a big man, a tight head. So I think the element of risk for Russie is an element of confidence he's got in his own team, not aiming up at something regarding us. And he's demonstrated that he does like to chop and change a little bit. But there are some guys you notice stay pretty consistent. I don't see Peter Steph de Toy get too many rests because he's a freakish athlete. And I think they've got about 500 caps on the bench. So if there are cracks, they've got some decent cement to put in them.
This part of the video, then you must be a real rugby fan, because we're 20 odd minutes in, and here's some facts. So if you're like me and you quite enjoy these are the facts from Opta. It says here South Africa's won their last 3 matches against Australia by an average margin of 24.3 points. Unfortunately, that was probably skewed by the fact that 2 of those games were in South Africa. South Africa have won each of their last 2 test matches against Australia in Australia. That's back to back, though the one was in 2022 and now in 2024. The last time they recorded a longer winning run was in 1971 to 1993. Of course, they were out of international competition for longer than that. Well, Australia have lost just one of their last 9 test matches in Perth against New Zealand. That's interesting as well. South Africa have won each of their last 6 test matches outside South Africa. 3 of those 6 victories coming in the World Cup, of course. And then they gained 547 meters round 1, which is 149 meters more than the team with the second most, Argentina. Just shows you their dominance in that first game. Some more facts. There you can see there that Australia won 20 lineouts, including 2 steals from the Springboks, the most of any team, and also most in their last 40 test matches. Harry Wilson crossed the game line for 10 carries. He was their main carrier in the tournament as well. Wilson also won 7 lineouts. That's why he's rated so highly in Australia. Ben Jason Dixon was the first player to arrive at 18 separate rucks, and additionally 19 tackles, the second joint most of any player. He's really had a great season so far. Jake Gordon 3, Rob Valentini with the only 2 of 3 players to win more than 1 turnover. So that's the Jake Gordon's obviously not playing this week. Valentini's going to be a threat. And then Curtly Orense scored 4 tries in his last 4 test matches, including 2 against Australia. KLA is not playing this week, but let's hope somebody else gets those tries this week. All that's really left to do now is just to give you a prediction. I think the game's going to be a lot closer than we expected, a lot closer than last week. We're going to have a situation where probably it was going to be a bit of nerves, a bit of an arm wrestle. My worry is what happens if the Springboks get a bit of a setback in that first couple of minutes. Australia score an early try. How are they going to come back into it? They've obviously got the insurance on the bench. So I think if they in this game in at 60-minute mark when the bomb squad comes in, or even if they're 5 or 6 points behind, I think you favour them to win. I think a lot's going to depend on how these youngsters stand up to this challenge. They certainly are a talented bunch. They certainly are going to be the Springboks of the future, and they certainly have been backed by the management. So if they can fulfill that promise, There's no reason why they can't beat Australia. I would still go for a Springbok victory by about 9 points. I think that second half they'll pull away then when the bomb squad comes on, when the bench comes on, and they should win. But it's going to be a tougher game than last week, and a lot more interesting in a lot of ways to see what the Springboks of the future can do. That being said, yeah, Australia will be better, but I'm not quite sure they are where they need to be to win these matches just yet. Still, a very interesting game. Rain can be a big leveler, so we never know. Thank you for watching, and yeah, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. It's great to always do these videos for you, and there'll be a lot more. Thanks a lot for watching. Cheers.